Microsoft might be listening to people. They may be removing the Bing search results by default. Well, maybe not by default. Let's say just giving us the option to get rid of them when we search for something on the taskbar. Thanks for checking out this video by Switched Linux, and welcome once again to the Windows Wednesday. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. And yes, we will be talking a little bit about some of the changes in Windows, why Linux learned this a long time ago, and why user options are a good thing, and maybe why some Linux distributions are just too terrified to put internet searches on their main start menu search bars. Let's talk about this. So what's going on here is, for a while now, and I forget when because I haven't used Windows in a long time, you'd go in to search for something and you get all these internet results and a bunch of things, and then some files, and then some applications and things. And I always found this a little ridiculous. These things called web browsers exist. If I want to get on the internet, I can boot up one of these things called a web browser, and I can go and I can search for something on the internet there. Anytime I'm personally using my computer and I go into that menu that's on your start menu or your meta menu or whatever you want to call that thing, I'm kind of looking for an application. It kind of even drives me crazy when some distributions put like file searches on there as well. I always had to turn that off. I think Linux Mint does that, and you can turn it off, which is nice, But as we're looking at this, Microsoft just throws internet searches on there, and people are kind of frustrated with it. Now, in fact, a little fun factoid for you is that if you're over in the EU, it is illegal for them to do that, exclusively to Bing anyway. And so that is a feature that has been disabled in the EU for a long time. But those of us in the United States, where we have the wild, wild west of privacy and internet and technology laws, well, we happen to have a situation where they can do anything and everything, and it monetizes them with some money and things like that. So you go to search up the application, you open your menu up and you type Word because, you're still for some reason paying for your Office suites. And then it ends up showing up, multiple internet searches for Word. And, you might get some wrapper, Word, and so with all that, people are getting a little frustrated, and it looks like they might be actually giving you the option to remove that. Now, the real question here is, are they doing this to actually give user choice? Or are they doing this to simplify the system? Because, EU has to have this, and now they have one version of the Windows for the EU and one version of the Windows not for the EU, and what's going on with all this? So it could just be simply cleaning things up. Who knows? It could be something else. Again, who knows? But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and have a look at what they're saying here. So Microsoft is testing a hidden search feature setting that finally gives users more control over Bing results on Windows 11. So you go down here and you hit the search here, and you can find internet results. Well, now under your privacy and security and under search, there is a toggle box here. I wish I could make that picture a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can open that image in a new tab for you. Of course, that doesn't help the situation. They add a line here for web searches, and they have here a line item for Microsoft Store. So you can toggle those guys on or off, and then you can have the option to see search results related to things in the Microsoft Store and inside of online utilizing Bing. That's kind of what they are now doing. Now, as the article points out here, is that this is something that the EU has had option for a long time, because in the EU, there is actually laws that prevents them from forcing Microsoft's Bing as your default search engine, and it's just too difficult to figure out how to get Chrome in there or Firefox. Wow. I'm being stupid today, apparently, Google in there, or Brave, or Start Page, or DuckDuckGo. And so they just like, hey, on or off, why not? Let's just turn it off. It's easier than fraternizing with the enemy and putting our competition in there. I mean, people might find a better search engine. All right. So is this user choice or just streamlining things? So ultimately, inside of this build number here, 26300.8697, under the settings, privacy and security search, there's a web searches. There's also the Windows Store search there as well. You can turn those on and turn those off. So that's actually moving towards a better option with more choices. Now, Windows Central's take here is, I think Microsoft should have offered this option a long time ago. When I'm using Windows Search, I'm usually looking for a file, an app, or a setting, not a Bing result. And I think that most people utilizing that thing are probably looking for that. Of course, Microsoft would love to just streamline everything. And in reality, your smartphones for a while now have come with a default search bar right on the home screen. So people might be used to searching the internet off of something simple like the taskbar. I don't know, makes sense. I think, though, that leads to the dumbing down and the consolidating of things, that if we actually got away from that mindset, we might actually be better people, have better cognition, because we're not relying on one simple thing to do everything. And then we kind of become like blithering idiots. We're like, Bronny, it's got the electrolytes. It's what plants need, And then everything in the world. You guys notice in that movie, Idiocracy, everything uses that one substance, right? Is it called Bronley? I don't know. I forget. Anyway, this could just be consolidation. But I do want to mention that a long time ago, maybe before many of you knew Linux, there was actually a controversy, because back then Ubuntu, in about 2010, 2012, somewhere around there, they actually added Amazon search results in the search field right inside the menu. So you hit your meta key, pull down your menu, where on Ubuntu right now, on Linux distributions in general, you just hit that and search for something, and it searches for applications. And then some Linux distributions will have something like Ubuntu, I think, ties it into the Snap Store as well. I think there may also be a few other options in there. But back then it wasn't an option. They just like, hey, this is a great way to make revenue. So they went ahead and added a search field. So you search for something in that menu, and it automatically went to Amazon, which caused a whole lot of people. And by the way, the number of people using Linux back then for privacy was much higher. And that caused a real big problem, because every single time I would open my menu there and start typing in it, a query is going on the internet to Amazon. And so this caused some serious backlash. And then you had the ability to turn that off. And then they had an inclusion, like the blurb inclusion. In fact, if you look at the bottom of my website, there has to be that blurb inclusion down there, because we use affiliates. Amazon is one of them, and they require websites that have an Amazon affiliate to have that particular verbiage somewhere easy to find. I made it simple and said it's just in the bottom of the footer of every page. I'm not messing with it. There you go. But back then in 2012, the Linux magazine here was talking about how Ubuntu added the ability to toggle off the Amazon search function because they were listening to people. So back over 10 years ago, close to 15 years ago now, Ubuntu did something really dumb. They heard their user feedback and they got rid of that nonsense. And Microsoft right now is like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should give people the option to turn off search inside of our menu. Well, after Ubuntu's snafu with this, most Linux distributions are not running down this pathway to give you a unified menu that searches for every application and then every file and every search query, because that does raise some serious privacy concerns. If I'm not interested in going on the internet and I just pull up my menu and start typing for something, I may not want an internet query to go out. All right. And that is a fundamental problem. So again, is Microsoft doing this because it's going to help streamline the process or not? Just because the EU they're forced to do it. And this is kind of like the same argument we see inside of the age verification. Once it's forced in one dystopian hellhole like UK, then they're just going to be like, we just don't want to maintain multiple things. Let's just push out the global age verification everywhere in the world because everyone's talking about it now. And that's why we need to push back, even if the crazy nonsense is going on in some foreign country. It's just like, I don't know, it's UK, who cares what they're doing? Because if they cause a fundamental change in our software, that fundamental change in our software might come back to bite us so that they can streamline their processes. That's why we raise awareness in the UK, even though I'm not there and I have no interest in going there. I'd find myself in China before I go to UK. I'm less likely to get arrested for wrongthink over there. Think about that. All right. But ultimately, that's just what we wanted to mention here. It's a very interesting little article that Microsoft is starting to slowly give us choice. And that choice is, that's an interesting thing. So let me know your thoughts about all of that in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.